Hey, it's Tom from Reaction Therapy Unplugged here with another episode of Client Stories. These are doozies, stories from my career of almost 30 years that, you just wouldn't expect sometimes. Things I've seen as a mental health professional, not to reveal or divulge any information that spills the tea on anybody you might know, but just to tell things that have happened that have either been funny, scary, or strange in my office. Today's story is about the spirit in the leg. Okay, so this is a very strange one. I hadn't seen this happen before at the time. Now, this was a long time ago it happened, okay? Long time ago. But there was this older gentleman that came into my office, and his wife had passed away, I believe a few years earlier to him coming in to see me. And he wanted to talk to me. He was a godly man, goes to church, like very uh, solid in his faith, extremely solid in his faith. And he believed that his wife, she had passed away a few years before, was still kind of with him and around him. In his house, he would talk about the air changing temperature in the bathroom of their bedroom or in the closet at different points. Like the rest of the home was at the same temperature, but that particular room would change temperature, get colder, and he would eventually start talking to her. And I can't remember who referred him to me, but I think somebody that was close to him said, "Why don't you sit down and talk to somebody?" Because it was bothering him. Like he was upset by this. It was disturbing because, well, number one, he misses his wife, but number two, it was unpredictable and he couldn't figure out why it was happening. And so somebody referred him to me and he was like, I don't even know what to do about this because it's upsetting. I never know when it's going to happen. And I said, well, tell me more about when you hear from your wife, when you feel like this happens. And he would say, well, sometimes it's the temperature thing, but she also talks to me. And I said, wow, okay. So she talks to you. Describe more about that to me. And he said, well, there's her spirit that stays in my leg. And I said, really? So she stays in your leg? Like where in your leg? He said, right here, like in my calf, where your calf is at the bottom of your leg. He says, she's there and she's there all the time. And I said, well, is she here right now? And he said, well, let me ask her because he could ask her questions. It was the most interesting thing. And he would look down and he would say, well, hang on a second. He would say, yeah, she said she's here and she sees you. And so he would kind of just feel his leg and see kind of how it felt. And I would say, well, does she like, have anything particular she wants to say? And he would be like, no, or yes, and it sounded a little bit crazy at the time, right? But the more he talked about it, it wasn't like he was trying to fabricate anything. It was like he was continuing a conversation with her. So his wife actually lived in his leg. And I think that's what people were concerned about with him. Like he's walking around talking about his wife's like with him in his calf of his leg. And that just, I don't know, is he okay? Is he mentally okay? And the more I talked to him, he really was okay mentally. Like all the other things going on in his life were fine. It was just that he really felt like his wife was right there in his leg. And whenever we would be talking, and I would say, well, you know, tell me like, how often your wife visits you or talks to you, or tell me how you felt about your wife passing away. And is your wife wanting you to let her go, or is your wife wanting to stay in your leg? And he would say, well, let me ask her. Hang on. And he would get quiet. And then he would look back at me and say, no, she doesn't. So he would answer yes or no, but he would have this conversation with me in his office. And I don't think he wanted to get rid of it. I think he just wanted to understand more of what it was about and whether it was normal. And I said, well, normal is relative. Like everybody has different things that go on. But I had never heard of somebody actually feeling like their loved one lived inside their leg and especially inside their calf to where he would feel down there. And he said, I can feel it when I walk. So I have to walk sometimes a certain way and it would be kind of a hobbling walk. And he came to see me multiple times. It wasn't long term. He kind of stopped coming, like he just didn't want to keep talking about it. And I think he just wanted to keep living the life he lived. But I think it upset people around him that he would continue to talk about this because they felt like he was kind of losing his mind, and especially being so sad. And by the way, this can happen when you're grief stricken over somebody that you don't want to let go of, and that he needed to find a way to hold on to. So subconsciously, he probably had that. And I don't think it was hurting his regular daily life, but it was probably hurting a little bit of his mental state because he couldn't like live his normal life anymore because, you know, his wife was living in his leg. But I thought it was kind of funny, kind of strange, and kind of odd. It was something I had not heard of before. And I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but it was the first time I'd ever heard of somebody living, a spirit living inside of somebody's leg. Yes, the man got along with me well. We had great conversation, and I don't think he was coming for anything super specific for himself, because other people had kind of said maybe it would be good to talk to a mental health professional. We got along really well. He was nice. He was kind. We talked about other things. And then every now and then he would ask his wife a question and he would tell me what she was saying. Yes, I've dealt with spirits in a lot of different ways, just not in, most of the time it's in communication. People will hear from people, like they might talk about seeing signs and symbols kind of out in the world, that they have a question for somebody, and they might see a billboard, or they might hear a song, or they might see something that's so and so, or they might audibly hear people talking to them. It is very rare that well, this was the first time, and this might be the only time I've heard of somebody actually living in their body. So this is a little bit different than the normal, which is hearing audible voices, seeing messages or symbols in the world that you think people are communicating with you. Man, what a personal question. Like asking me what I think about this. I would say this is a personal choice, because I don't like talking a whole lot about this, because I think people form opinions about people based on whether hey, I believe in spirits, I believe in the afterlife, I believe in, you know, this or that, especially when it comes to religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. So I have seen enough in my day. I've seen enough just literally from people to know that I believe there is some communication that happens beyond us. And I say that because I've seen people literally be able to hear messages and know facts about people without ever having had contact with them before in their life. I mean, I've just seen some very interesting things. And I know that there's got to be something else going on other than just us here. Easy as I can say it. Thanks for being here for another episode of Client Stories on Reaction Therapy Unplugged. Don't forget to go back and check the past episodes. Subscribe to Reaction Therapy and Reaction Therapy Unplugged. And can't wait to see you next time. Tom works quick.